you do the intro? Because, okay, so we are live now.
Yeah. Would you like me to do it, or are you going to do it?
You can do it. That's okay.
Okay, sure. Welcome everyone to our 13th Rural Family Medicine Cafe, and today we are celebrating our birthday. Woo! As well as our pre-Wonka warm-up. So today we have Mayara. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, it's Mara here. I'm from Brazil. I'm a medical student, and I'm really, really happy that we are in our birthday rural cafe because it's very nice to see everything that we create. I think it will be a really, really good one because we are in a pre-Wonka conference and we have loads of things to talk, and we are maybe seeing each other very close in Brazil, and it will be very nice. So I'm very, very happy with this one. Sarah?
Well, thank you, and congratulations. And it doesn't seem like a year ago, I have to say. But anyway, that's almost as long ago as when I was actually on it, I think. So apologies for being so absent. But anyway, here now. I'm a rural GP, and I have just recently moved back to Australia. When I last joined, I was in Canada. And so I am now head of a rural clinical school in Queensland in Australia, which happens to be the largest rural clinical school in Australia. And I actually have to thank this group for getting me to even contemplate taking on this job. And it really stems from a discussion we had with Veronica a long time ago, and she was telling us how it was for her in Croatia, and I thought, well, the one thing we hadn't really done for rural health was to get a significantly large university signed up to rural health as a main issue for them. And so when I happened to see the advert for this position, I thought, that's it. The University of Queensland has very rural origins. And in fact, it's just turned, the School of Medicine here has just turned 80 years old. So it's a great opportunity. And when I say we're the largest rural clinical school in the country, we have 200 students at any one time and do over 550 placements in a year. So lots of opportunities to let students know how fantastic it is to work in a rural setting. And hopefully that will be the way we turn the rural health inequity issue around. So that's me. Thank you, Amber.
Okay, and I can introduce myself. My name is Amber. I'm originally from the British Virgin Islands in the Caribbean, but now studying medicine in Swansea University. And I have an interest in rural and remote health, particularly medical education. And yeah, I've enjoyed my time in Swansea. I've had the opportunity to have placements in rural and urban settings. And I'm really looking forward to this cafe today.
Okay, so can I go, Amber, or we can coordinate together? Is that okay? I will just bring some data about the rural cafes that we have organized in last year, and to show a little bit of this, of our birthday. Like, through this 1 year of rural cafe, we have more than 20 cafes participating, and we have all the continents covered. We have Kenya, Nigeria, Australia, Portugal, India, Spain, Egypt, Canada, Brazil, and Virgin Islands, and Venezuela. So it's really, really nice to Trinidad, Tobago, Georgia, Chile. So it's really, really nice to think that we start that one. It was myself, Amber, Veronica, and Sarah, and now we have all these people and participate on it. So it's really, really nice to see it. And I think the discussion and the hashtag creation, that even Amber it's researching it. Maybe you can talk a little bit about it, Amber. And a lot of, like, in our own way and Facebook discussions, but we are growing. And this is nice because we created like an awareness. I think that we create at least like some people watch it after and get in touch with us and discuss it and come to participate. So we created something that it's really nice. I don't know if anyone would like to comment.
Sorry, my computer is moving so slowly, I can't function. Yeah, I don't mind talking a little bit about the very early stages of the research that I'm doing. So my aim with the research was to kind of prove that the Rural Family Medicine Cafe is improving feelings of isolation among people who practice rural medicine, or even students who are interested in rural medicine and are having a hard time engaging with it. And what I found is that the hashtag use kind of comes in waves, but every wave is becoming higher and higher. So when we first started, we had the hashtag was used 106 times, and then in June it was 240. So every time we have a cafe, the hashtag is being used more and more frequently. Although interestingly enough, what I found is the topics that were least interesting to the general population had the least response. So when we did women in rural medicine and rural medicine and the arts, we didn't have as many hashtags going then as we did, for example, about social media and rural medicine, which everyone seemed to be very keen on talking about. And I was explaining this dilemma that I had with Dr. Prasad, because it seemed as if the people who were doing the most tweeting was the same set of people tweeting more, as opposed to more people tweeting about the hashtag. And he was so excited. He was like, Amber, you have a unique ethnographical study. And I was like, oh, what? But he was right, because an ethnographical study, I later found out, was a study about the behaviors of a unique community. Because I was telling him, instead of getting tweets like the Rural Family Medicine Cafe makes me feel less isolated, what I was finding was that people were tweeting really good stories, really good advice, links to studies, links to books about practicing rural medicine, which is an immeasurable way of providing support. And he was saying that I need to do an ethnographical study on the Rural Family Medicine Cafe and how we support each other through less concrete ways. So I'm looking forward to finding out more about that. That's my plan for this weekend.
Awesome. And maybe Sarah, would you like to comment?
Thanks, Mara. Look, I think it's fantastic because, well, I would say that it's a challenge really around timing rather than distance. And so certainly for myself, I've had challenges just to attend the live sessions because of the various times that we've set. And I don't think there's ever going to be one time that works, but the opportunity to either be on live or to access it later, I think is really critical. And I think that is what reduces the factor of isolation, is that it's always there regardless. Catch up with what people have been saying, and then try and perhaps join yourself the next time, so that once you become more familiar with the topics, the people, I think that is encouraging and reduces the isolation, and you probably listen to hear what particular people are saying over the sessions as they run. Sorry, despite my tea here, I seem to be very dehydrated, so I'll just keep drinking.
I would like just to comment on what you say, Sarah, and what Amber said, because this thing of reducing isolation and the whole effort that Amber is doing to copying this data and discovering more and more about the Rural Cafe, I think that chance that we have here to be every month in contact with an experienced GP and bring our young ideas with people that are more time on the field. This is just amazing. Like it gave power to our voice as well, and I think this is the good thing about the Rural Cafe and how people around the world deal with something. And like I learned a lot of, and I have more ideas now for how to work with something here in Brazil. So I think this is one of the great things. The one that we did about arts was very, very interesting because we can discuss and a lot of people bring their views and all of them are interesting. I think this is the great part, and even that we are not close to each other physically, we can get close like friends and like knowing each other and knowing our faces, and this is nice. Like this is what making us humans, and I think the work of bring this to the family medicine and to rural family medicine. I don't know if you want comments. I don't know if you what you would like to say.
Well, I don't mind commenting on what you were saying about us getting to know each other without actually having met each other, because we do feel like we have become like our own little community. We meet quite regularly. We talk in between cafes as well. And it's quite a strange idea to think that, oh, like I actually have never physically met either of you before, although I think I know you quite well. So I think that's one of the good things as well when Wonka happens, and even the conference in Karen's, because you will go there knowing that you have someone that you know there, and you can socialize and share ideas. And I think that gives people a lot more confidence. Unfortunately, I won't be going to Wonka this year, but I mean, if I was going, I would be happy to know that there was a group of people that I had run my idea by before, that I had discussed any problems I was having with, that maybe I could share a room with. And it will make the idea of presenting at such a huge conference a lot less scary.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, Sarah.
Okay, thanks. Sorry. That's fantastic, Amber, because I was just thinking back that when we started doing rural medicine years ago, you really were on your own when we had to just rely on a standard phone. And in the, must have been, well, the late 80s, we started to have mobile phones, but they weren't the nice little thing that you have nowadays. It was a huge, great box that you had to lug around that was incredibly heavy. It was a satellite phone, and that helped you just at work in terms of connecting you to the practice if you were going off on a house call or something like that, so that you were able to stay connected just that short distance between wherever your practice was and the house you were going to visit. It had no function more than that, really, that someone could just get you immediately, but still relatively close. So it wasn't addressing the issue of distance in any shape or form, and how far we've progressed. And in Australia at the moment, they are running out what they call the national broadband network, so that people do have much better access to the internet, and making So we've made huge strides since the late 80s to now. And the internet just, and having the opportunity to do something like this Google Hangout Cafe just allows you to be so much more connected than we've ever experienced before. It's a fantastic opportunity, and I agree with what you're saying that we initially started off running seminars by teleconference, and we always used to find that we'd get, this was more for GP registrars, but we'd get them online with a few tutors, and even if you hadn't met before, when you did then later meet, you always felt you had been fast-tracked into connecting with that person, so you could pick up much more quickly, and you had a different sort of relationship than having to start from square one when you hadn't talked to people before at all. So now with the opportunity to actually see you kind of live as well, it's quite fantastic. And you know, I don't want to particularly focus on me, but just to say that I wouldn't be able to do the job I'm doing now if it wasn't for Skype, things like the Rural Cafe and FaceTime and things like that to connect with not only colleagues and friends, but in particular family. And so it is interesting. It is a different way of reducing the isolation than we've had before. And I think it makes a difference. I wouldn't be here now if it were at all. So I'm very pleased.
Thanks, Sarah. Amazing. Would you like to comment, Amber? Or
Yeah, that's okay. I just wanted to touch on what Sarah was saying about this being so different, because when I presented the idea of the Rural Family Medicine Cafe at the CCFP conference in Tobago with Polaris, huge wave of people who wanted to join the Rural Family Medicine Cafe. What is this thing? But a lot of them were very apprehensive, and I think it's because they've never really they've never experienced using social media in this sense. So, you know, I said, yeah, just go to Google Hangouts, but I didn't realize that a lot of them were like, actually, Google Hangouts, what's that? And even today now, the technical problems we've had is because Google Hangouts has changed even since we started this cafe 1 year ago. So I think it's partly our responsibility using this platform to kind of keep people up to date with technology and what you can do, and inspire others to then use that technology to create their own ideas. But, you know, that's something I guess that will come with time. And as the cafe grows, people will try and invent some new technology that we can project each other's image on the wall or something like that. But it's quite exciting that we can use this technology, as Sarah said, to improve not only our the way we relate to each other through our careers, but also in family and our personal lives. So I'm looking forward to see what the cafe will look like next year.
sure, I think like the cafe is made by people that is kind of that it like we are when we have one of the more interesting parts, like to have this difference. Be really interesting to see it next year. Today also we are going to talk about pre-Wonka conference, and it's like a warming up for us to getting ready to discuss rural at Wonka. This is very exciting, and this is one of the outcomes of the Rural Cafe as well, because probably we wouldn't like to be doing so many things there on Wonka if we didn't have the Rural Cafe, and I think it's interesting. And we will have a a workshop about getting together, social media network in rural medicine, and it will be on day 4th at Friday in Wonka. And I think it will be really interesting because we will be talking about Rural Cafe, we'll be talking about Twitter and Facebook and bringing all this social media together and how we could interact on it and how we could get together and develop it in favor, because a lot of times we can use social media or even internet to being more isolated instead of being connected with people. So I think this is one of the things that we can say. We can enter in the good uses of social media, and we have the bad uses of social media. So I think this is one of the great outcomes that we can think and say that it's one of the good ways to use social media. What do you think?
Look, I think that's right. I'd like you to bring me up to date with how you're planning the workshop to run. And in fact, I think Amber, your ethnographic research is particularly interesting, because I think that we have an opportunity to do more research using social media, and I think that the more people understand it, use it, become comfortable with it, the better that will be. I know that in business schools, they often crowdsource challenging situations as they will use a case and kind of get that they find is challenging, and then put it out there so that they get multiple responses. And although many of the responses are the same, there'll be kind of 10 or so particular themes that really could work, and then they using that to develop a solution, and they come up with 10 different solutions. But for you suddenly get that huge variety of input, and it kind of confirms, by the sheer numbers that are involved, confirms that each of those, say, 10 solutions could actually be effective. And so I think that we've got more opportunities to work on this. So anyway, going back to the Wonka workshop, can you just run through what you anticipate happening? It would be great to be brought up to speed.
What I was talking with Bianca and we were planning is, to this workshop we were planning to bring some like problems for people in small groups, and each one of the coordinators will receive this, and it will need to deal with different social media and say what they will use, and who will coordinate will present some social media that people do not know. And after we'll bring to the huge discussion and try to discuss how to use this social media, and bring the ideas of the Rural Cafe, and bring the ideas of the rural health success stories and the World Rural Medicine Student Network, and how we are getting together and using well this social media, and how we cannot use this so well. So bring the good points. This is what we planned in very simple words and a way to explain it. I don't know if, what do you expect? What do you think? And even Amber, your opinion is very important.
So, I mean, it sounds like a good idea to me. Most of the workshops that I've been to have been a similar thing, where they've, presented you with a problem and you work with groups to achieve something. The only question I have, because like once I realized I wasn't going to be able to go to Wonka, unfortunately, I just blocked everything that was Wonka related out and focused on other things. So who is going to be at the workshop? Like, have you invited specific people, or can anyone sign up on the day to come to the workshop? How many people are you planning to have?
Well, anyone can join the workshop. It's just you can pop up there. The room is for 100 people, so it's a lot of people. So we will see how much will be there. We have 5 facilitators. It's Sarah, Roger, John, Bianca, and Joe. So which one will be, and myself will be try to coordinate everybody. So we will have 5 facilitators, and these facilitators will have 20 people in each group to discuss, to have the case discussion, and we will move the chairs around and try to do it the best way possible. And then I will print, because we don't have confirmed yet by the organization if you have Wi-Fi available or not. So we are not able to plan way of social media interaction if we don't have Wi-Fi, a guarantee of Wi-Fi. So we work with more personal interaction, and then people can go after that can go after and have the Facebook and the Twitter interaction. But anyway, this is what we are planning, and we are trying to set up, if we have internet at the event, we are planning to do a rural cafe in another time, like with a lot of people and live transmission as well. So I think it will be really, really interesting. This is what we are planning, and I don't know what do you think? And even Sarah that brought this idea.
Well, thanks for that quick update, because like Amber, my focus has been on other things rather than keeping up with the emails. So I think it's a very good idea to have problems to discuss, so little scenarios already set up. And I think it's an excellent idea that people will leave the workshop having mastered a skill around social media. I think it's good to have them take away something that they're going to be able to use in the future. And I also think you're right that there needs to be a follow-up rural cafe fairly soon after the event, so that people can spread the word about how it went, and use have the opportunity to perhaps have used the skill that they learnt and report back how useful that actually has been. I see we've just been joined by Bob. Hi, Bob.
Hello. Hi there. It's good to see you, Sarah.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, just for the purpose of the cafe?
Don't worry, I was late. I had trouble getting through the electronic picket fence, but if it's appropriate, yes, I can do that right now. So I'm Bob Bullard. I'm a professor of family medicine at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. I've worked with Sarah and Roger for a number of different issues, and I'm currently the Associate Director of the Rural Coordinating Center here in British Columbia, which is a tripartite organization looking at rural issues in the province. And I was a rural doc for better part of 2 different places before moving to the university, but that was some time ago. So I'm a little bit of an interloper here.
Well, we're very happy to have you join us today. We're just talking a little bit about a workshop that Mayara is planning for the Wonka conference, and she's asking for our feedback about the method that she's planning on using. And Maya, I just wanted to say, for the venue, because you're not sure if there's going to be Wi-Fi, if you have someone who has an Apple MacBook or an iPhone, they can turn their phone into a hotspot, and you can use that just in that room for the workshop. So that's an idea that, you know, if you definitely don't have any Wi-Fi, you can use that temporarily just for the session and get around it.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. How many people could use it? I mean, if we've got 5 facilitators and we have 5 groups, say, I can imagine that we might be able to connect. But if there's 100 people, we wouldn't be able to use one person's iPhone as the Wi-Fi connection, I assume. Does anyone know?
I know they can definitely
What?
do more than one person, but I don't know what the capacity is. But obviously, as with any connection, if there's more people, it will slow it down.
Like, yeah, like Brazil don't have, it's not well known by having good internet 4G. We don't have a good one of that, so I wouldn't like to trust on it, because I know that even for me to connect sometimes just one phone, it doesn't work. Like, we don't, maybe real is better because everything real is better and it will work. But my reality is that we have like band limitations, so we cannot like just broadcast for everybody. But if we can, this is one of the plans, but I'm not sure if like Brazilian reality will fit on it.
So my experience of the Wonka workshops or the Wonka rural Wonka conference is that you can't rely on these things, and in fact, even despite our whole workshop being connected or not, there'll be all the other streams that are going on in the conference at the time, so that there'll be stiff competition for any access to the internet anyway. But I was thinking that perhaps we could run, you might like to think of this anyway, we could run one of the more popular sessions from over the last year, just to give people an idea of what it was like, if we could get it recorded so that we don't have to rely on the internet. I think it would be very helpful to show people what it looks like and tell them how to connect for the future.
What do you think if we do like a sheet with, if you want to join Facebook, do this and that. If you want to join Twitter, do this and that. If you want to join, you know, like giving a manual, and then people can like how to do it at their home if they want, like they could connect with us. It was something that I was thinking, because we need to be online and making it work. So we need to have a plan offline, and if we have internet, it will be much better. But
if I can just add something, the hotspot that I was talking about doesn't require an existing internet connection. It's like your phone uses its own signal to generate its own internet. It's not part of anybody else's Wi-Fi. So only people who are next to that phone will have access to the connection. And you just need phone signal. So you don't need to have 3G or 4G in the area that the phone is in. So that's an option. Because there was one area that I was in and there was no internet whatsoever, but this one guy got his MacBook to work as a Wi-Fi hotspot, and we all had to like crowd around his room to get onto the internet. About printing out like the manual, I think with that one, it's kind of hit and miss, because some people will be able to follow it perfectly because they, you know, they're used to following systematic instruction. Invariably, you will have someone who does not read instructions carefully and gets completely confused, and then it's almost as if you didn't give them any instructions at all. So I think it's a good option to have for people who like that kind of thing, but you're definitely going to have someone who, you know, it's completely useless for. You'll never know until you present it to them and find that they struggle.
Well, you're right, but I think actually having what I'd call just a cheat sheet rather than a manual, because I don't think people will go through a thick manual, which it could end up being, but just a two-sided page, if we can print either side, or just a single sheet as a flyer, would be a good idea. They could always use the back of it to make notes, I guess, if it's just single-sided. But we need to prepare that beforehand, and I would not be the best person to do that. I will be the best person to test it out as to whether it's understandable. But if one of you would like to develop it, I will be happy to print it out and bring it with me if that's likely to be a problem. Then the other thing I was thinking, oops, sorry, I've just got a message here. Let me get that out of the way. And I've lost my thoughts, so keep talking. I'll come back to it if it's really important.
No, I think, and I wouldn't like also to like obligate anyone to have enter in a social media in the end of the workshop, because I experienced in the workshop that people say, no, you need to create a Twitter account and then you need to do a Facebook account, and people are like, oh my god, if I wouldn't and I would like also to use social media, like people are like assaulted, like they don't have any other option to do that. Like in the end you need to have a social media account, because really you don't need to have, like, even you don't have to have a social media account at all almost to enter into this conversation. So like if you want just to join, you have like ways to join, and if you would like to have a Facebook account, we can help yourself, but you're not obligated to it. Like, I don't think that's a good outcome of a social media workshop, that everybody in the after have a social media account. Like that, I think that we need to discuss it.
No, I think you're right, and I think that I'm one of those people for sure, because regardless of what people say about privacy, etc., you still feel that actually you are opening yourself up to risks that you're not necessarily prepared to take, particularly in a conference. What I had, sorry, and I apologize for getting, but what I was going to say was you have to be, and this is actually a rural attribute, you have to expect the unexpected. And I was just recalling about the international conference that we had with Wonka in Ireland. And what happened was we were in a facility that they had only just finished. And it was huge, and it was like a large hangar, you know, kind of an airplane hangar type size. And they had compartmentalized that into various rooms, so that we had lots of small group rooms. But unfortunately, what we hadn't thought about, nor had the conference conveners or the people who were constructing the layout, they hadn't put a roof on the small rooms. So that in fact, when you had thousands of people in the one hangar all talking, we couldn't hear each other. So we made a mass migration out to find spaces elsewhere that we could talk and actually hear each other. And that conference happened to be the start of the women's Wonka group. And it was quite funny, and we had to be quite innovative to just be able to hear each other, and that wasn't even using the internet. So I think you're very right to not know what to expect, and then expect and be prepared to cope with whatever we find. Bob, I don't know if you...
I would like to ask Bob, are you going to come?
I think I'm unmuted now, am I?
Yes.
Okay. It wasn't clear from what the initial concept of the workshop was. If someone could give me a couple of sentences on that. And Sarah, I'm afraid that I am going to displace you as the lowest common denominator in managing the technology. So I will be the lowest common denominator. Whatever technology is decided upon, if you can make it work for me, you can make it work for anybody.
Bob, can I ask you if you are going to participate of Wonka conference now in Rio?
Yes, I will be in Rio.
Okay. And are you going to participate of any workshop or any? Are you going to do any panel or any other thing?
Yes, I actually am going to be there primarily because the Bézrur Center from Canada is holding its annual meeting there, and I'll be. I'm very much involved in participating in that. But I've just sort of connected up. Well, I followed rural Wonka for a long period of time. I've been involved in Wonka Education Working Group for years, and also the environmental health, eco-health one. So I'm still trying to figure out my schedule of where I can be when. It's going to be a very exciting time for me, and I've never been in Brazil before. So, yeah. But is there something I could contribute to, what you're planning?
Well, you can't displace me without actually being there, of course.
When is the plan for this one, so I can put it in my calendar?
This one will be 4th of November at Friday from 1:45 p.m. to 3:15 p.m.
Okay.
And this workshop, the name is Getting Together, Social Media Networking Rural Medicine. And we are going to talk a little bit. We'll do small groups with facilitators, and we will go through social media problems like scenarios, and people will need to deal with this scenario if they could using social media, or what are their limitations with social media. And we'll have like pings of social media, and then people will try to use it on the best way that they could. And after, they will present it to the whole group, and we will do a discussion of how we can settle it, and how we can use social media, and what's being done for that. I'm not sure if I was clear enough, Bob. Can you understand?
Okay, no, that's very helpful, and it's exciting. I think I probably haven't been giving a workshop name time exactly at the Bézrur conference, but I'll double check that, and if I can release that would be great. Yes, as I would understand it, you're probably putting on a workshop that would be very important for someone my age. There's a sometimes immiscible layer somewhere between your generation and mine in terms of the use of social media. I was on Facebook for 24 hours once, and when I got a notification of a special sale on at a mall in Jakarta from one of the medical students that I'd worked with in Jakarta, I decided that was probably more information input than I needed. And so I got off Facebook, and I haven't gone back, but I would love to be connected with something like this, because I'm increasingly impressed that there are appropriate, probably particularly appropriate uses in rural medicine for various social media. I don't know about Facebook in particular.
I hope we can cope with, because I think the best part is interaction with different ages and different GPs, like students, GPs, and everybody. So I think that I hope we can make it useful for everybody, for since young to more older people, and I hope we can manage it.
So can I confess that I think I was on Facebook for even less. In fact, I think if I still have a Facebook page, which I assume is out there somewhere, it says I usually use email. Please send me an email. And that was because within seconds of creating it, my children told me that it was not a good idea. And they who must be obeyed. Right.
It's just a question of whether they weren't turning you away from it because you didn't think you could handle it, or because it was a bad idea. My grandchildren would tell me, "Grandpa, just elbow me away from the computer when they're getting on it."
But let me say you that since the last rural conference in Dubrovnik, I was there and I didn't have a Twitter. And then Joe say everyone need to have a Twitter, and I was like old fashioned, and I'm like 20 in my 20s, and he was like, and at some place he was like sitting, and I was just seeing his tweeting everything, and I was like, oh my god, he's really connected and I'm not. So then other people said you need to do a Twitter. So I was like, oh, I cannot be just live if I don't have a Twitter account. And then I was like, I did one, and actually it's very useful, but it was like in that context that it was a lot of people using it, and I was like, oh my god, I couldn't follow them.
Sorry.
Mute. Yeah.
Yep. In fact, that's what I was going to say, Bob. When you're not speaking, could you mute? Because I think that might impact on the rest of us being able to hear. Thank you very much. I think what sort of problems have you got a list of the problems yet for the scenarios for the groups to be working on, Mayara?
Not yet. I was trying to think, and I will send an email to create these scenarios. I'm not sure yet, but probably we can get one of the problems like Bob just say and you say with Facebook, and try to bring to rural context and try to. I'm not sure yet. Do you have an idea, Sarah?
Well, I was thinking, I mean, it would be good to have a patient problem, and then the issue of things like privacy coming up, and applicability of people's solutions to the problem because they're from a different context and things like that, and working out how you're going to get over those sort of issues. But also, I think what I was trying to suggest before is actually, you know, how could we use this for research? And so, Amber, I was thinking, you know, any questions that you have about the research that you're currently doing on this, that would be a great scenario to have. But even, I'm sure we can think of other ones, but I think that we should have a number of kind of patient problems, education challenges, research challenges, and then the personal and kind of professional aspects. If we kind of put them in those sort of categories, I think you'll find that there'll be a nice group, or a nice number of problems that we can present, and that people can deal with a few, so that they get to use a variety of ideas, even if they can't actually put them in practice while we're there.
Good idea, Sarah. I will try to think more about it. Do you have any idea, Bob or Amber?
Well, listening to it, it strikes me that there are what's emerging in my mind is the kind of I think that Sarah has given a nice range of dimensions. If we think about things that promote retention in rural areas, connectedness. And this is a higher order of connectedness. And then I was just thinking, connected with what? Well, connected with peers, clinical peers, would be a real primary one. Connecting in a reasonable, specialists that maybe needed to be connected with, or other professionals much more generally than that. So you've got the peer dimension, then you've got the connection with other men, and then there's the social dimension, which I guess I would think a little bit like a Venn diagram. When I think about my years in rural practice, my colleagues were my friends as well. And I'm just wondering if there's an electronic equivalent of that kind of crossover. And I don't know enough to know whether it looks or whether particularly useful to throw in, but it seems to me those 3 or 4 categories plunk the problem into that. It might be up some ideas.
Sure, I think it was an idea. Yes. What another thing just to bring? I'm taking notes of all that you're saying to digest after and think about. I'll think more about it. But what I was thinking, because I wouldn't like to bring a naive social media, like have good and bad sides. Like I would like to bring this. I wouldn't like just say social media is good. People are aware of the good use of it. And I was just thinking to bring. I'm just asking, what do you think? I don't know if you don't know Howcroft Illustrations. He's John Howcroft, and he do like social media critiques. And I was like thinking to give one of these images for everybody that's enter into the place, and then they have like this question about and Facebook, and then whether we met into the groups, we can discuss it into the small groups, bringing the idea of also dependence of social media and the bad use of it. I don't know, what do you think about it?
I think you certainly have to present the good and the bad, because that's what if the bad is not discussed, then it becomes an overwhelming fear and people won't use it. So no, I definitely think that's a good idea. And I was thinking that somehow the other thing is that, and what I think is really nice about the World Rural Cafe is that the time dimension is kind of taken out of it. And yet, on the other hand, you also have to work with it. So getting people to understand the issue around timing. So I have to say I'm a phone person. I love talking to people on the phone, but you know, if they're not there when I phone, then I'm kind of left hanging, and then I think, well, I'll send them an email. But the problem is, you know, when are they going to respond to an email? It takes time, and you soon work out people have different patterns. So I have a group of people that I connect with at kind of 5 or 6 in the morning, Australia time. And then, you know, there are others who will send me emails at night, and so you learn their patterns, and then you can get more prompt responses. But the wonderful thing I think about this Google Hangout World Rural Cafe is that everyone's here and willing to be in the moment, or they're not, and so that you know that they are relaxed, they have their cup of coffee. Or Mayara, I have to ask you, what is your cup called? Because you've had that, I think you've had the same one for now over a year, and I have no idea what it's called because it always looks very interesting compared to my very boring mug. But anyway, you know, there's a relaxed atmosphere here, and people as they are, whatever time of night or day it is, and that just brings a different aspect to the whole medium, I think.
Sure. Regarding my mate, it's called mate here. I will bring to the Wonka so you can try it. It's a indigenous drink. It have its background on an indigenous drink. This parenthesis, it's called, it's doing with Ilex paraguayensis, the tea. It not makes you high. It just have caffeine like coffee. And it's really interesting, like this came with time and bring like the straw, it's in the background into the indigenous, the cup as well, like it have indigenous straws, few of them, and they are all different. So it's called mate, and it's from the Guarani Kaingang ethnicity, and everyone almost in south of Brazil, in Paraguay, Uruguay, and Argentina will drink it, like, or at least we'll know what is it. So it's something regional.
Just linking that to what Sarah just said about simultaneity and the ambience and the idea that we are, you know, in a cafe together. So it brings at least my mother's that I have to be more engaged because people have deliberately come. I'm not just a hanger on to the edge of things. And then when you add the hookah that you're sucking on, then it takes me to Turkey, and I'm thinking of myself in a Turkish cafe, actual discussion.
The great idea of the Rural Cafe, that's an informal conversation between experienced people and less experienced people, and students and young doctors. And I think this is the great part, that we can get together and we have our regionalisms and we have our particularities, and this make us and make you feel connected. So I don't know, Amber, you are very silent. Would you like to comment? I don't know. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Hello? Okay. Yeah, so it's because my computer is moving so slow, it's just easier for me to just leave it alone. I forgot what I was gonna say now. Oh yeah, I was gonna say about the question that I have from my research. One of the biggest issues I'm having is that the people that we're targeting, which is doctors in a rural setting, are actually very hard to get engaged unless they're already interested. So for example, when we had our Indigenous Cafe, I asked for a list of contacts in the Caribbean, because of course then the Caribbean has Indigenous people, but I do not have very much experience with them. And I had a list of about 12 email addresses, and I have not gotten a single one of them to this day. I sent the first email, a second reminder email, and a third reminder email, and I haven't gotten any response from them whatsoever. And you know, my frustration was that these were exactly the people that I wanted to hear from. But of course, because they're in a rural setting, they don't answer their email or want to come to Google Hangout because you know the internet is unreliable. So one of the things that I'm hoping that the Rural Cafe will develop in time is that people who are in a rural setting will see its value and then make the extra effort to engage with it, because we all stand to gain from it. And yeah, as Mayara answered, Bob, I'm currently in Wales, in the UK.
That's a very good point, Amber, because we still fax out to our rural doctors information about when they can expect their next student. And, you know, you kind of, if you talk to anyone on the street, I think faxes went out some time ago, but actually it's one of the more reliable ways of getting messages to our rural doctors. Yeah, it's interesting. They're not particularly interested in emails. And I think our experience from the university is that we get very fed up with having multiple emails that are sent out by the Central University that have absolutely no relevance to us whatsoever. And so you actually have to go through kind of hundreds of emails that will tell you about whether you have a car parking space or, you know, a road being blocked in the city. So, you know, you can't get to work quickly or whatever. And we would like an efficient system that blocked all those out so that you would know that when you went to your email that they were particularly pertinent to you or your general interests, but certainly not the ones that have no application whatsoever. It's one of the most annoying things out being part of the university system.
I think this is one of the things that we need to bring to the workshop as well, like what is useful and what is not useful. Yeah. I'm not sure, Amber.
Yeah. One of the things that occurs to me apropos of the conversation just had is it's a matter of having a relationship, and then if you have a relationship, like for example, I suspect if one could inveigle, you know, research subjects or survey folks into a cafe setting like this, where you were more than just an email address, you'd probably get greater but issues in BC and faxes seem to stand out. It's almost like they're the kind of Pony Express, and people notice the horror that's arrived with the mail because they're so outmoded that they get attention, whereas the absolute dump of information from people that you have no relationship with it just dulls the whole experience with email. I don't know if that's helpful, but it might be something to explore in the workshop, is to how you feel the best method to initiate a relationship so that it can then flow in an ongoing way and being maintained, the technology. Because the biggest mistake I'm observing all around the world, where I do a lot of international work, I'm in Kathmandu at the present time, is the idea that the technology is going to create the relationship, and it never does. It can supplement an existing relationship, but it's not going to force the creation of one. And that's perhaps a useful discussion to have with the folks, even at the, you know, particularly if you're asking what's the best way to nurture, initiate, and establish a relationship with your clinical peers in a similar town 200 kilometers away. What's the best way to access a really specialist for, you know, the sort of corridor consultation where you just need a quick answer while the patient's in the room there, and how do you cross over with your you know, more intimate relationships, you know, your family and so on, so that the technology doesn't invade that. And I think there's a lot of interesting issues around there. And my love for rural, aside from my background, is that I think it's a kind of scale where a lot of these questions can be asked and answered, whereas in a complex urban environment, sometimes it gets lost. I just throw that in as something to think about.
Well, I think that's quite funny, actually, because I agree with what you were saying, although we did say early on that, I mean, if you've got a group and you're connecting by whatever means, that when you then meet face to face, you can kind of fast track into that relationship. And actually, Bob, when I saw you on this World Cafe, I thought, how great, because Monday is a public holiday here, and I was thinking that we had set up that we were going to have a conference call last month in September, and I never got around to doing anything about it. So I was just thinking, oh, I'll ask Bob while you're online now. to just go and call the others in the group in Canada to see if they happen to be free on Monday, completely not thinking that you might not be in Canada yourself. And so here you are in Kathmandu. Fantastic. We will connect other than through this at some point.
Yeah, no, actually, I will be getting back to Canada on Monday morning. So we could poll the group for sure.
Well, if you're expecting to work that day, that's fine.
No, I'm expecting to recover that day. But talking with you would be a form of recovery.
If I can just add to,
I'm really.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just to add to what both Barbara and Sarah have been saying about letting technology interfere with the development of a relationship. When I was doing pediatrics in Brecon, which is one of the mountains in this area, there was a family that did not have a phone at all, and the only way you could get them was either to send them a letter or go to their house, because that area did not have any phone signal and they didn't see the point in getting a phone. But just as Bob was saying, it's almost like you get more of an impact because you had to drive 3 hours or however long it takes to get to this person's house and show up at their doorstep. Of course, they're going to listen to what you have to say. So I think that was really interesting, and I'm really happy that you shared that with us. And we're getting a little bit near to the end now, so if people can share their final thoughts and any closing arguments they would like to address.
Sarah, you are mute.
Sometimes I must do a double click on my thing. Anyway, apologies for that. All I wanted to say was happy birthday. I think it's great. Looking forward to Brazil. I know I will learn a lot, but the best thing about it will be seeing those who are there, and hopefully, even if you're not going to be there, Amber, we may be able to connect you, because some of us will have phones with hotspots, I'm sure. So thank you again for a great discussion. And actually, the other thing I did just want to say is that actually it really does feel like a cafe. As Bob was saying, you just kind of drop in and you connect with the people who want to be there or have the opportunity to be there. And it's a relaxed time. And I think the cup of coffee or tea or whatever you have with you, or your, I'm going to call it jungle juice because I didn't quite catch what you called it, Mayara. It's a good way to connect. Thank you very much.
And I just want to thank you for welcoming me so warmly into this. And I hope that those of us who are in Brazil will link up, whether we can make that particular time work to work together on that. I trust other people will be there at other times, and I hope that by email to arrange a time to get together. And I look forward to further cafes and seeing how this develops.
So before Amber, I would like to say thank you, and I would like to say a huge thank you to everybody that joined us, not just today, but this whole year, because today is our birthday. And when I started it, I was thinking today on morning, like what this means and what this space means and what I was expecting of it when I created it, and how it's huge and how it becomes. So I'm really, really happy, and I would like to say thank you, and special thank you also to Bob and Amber that are here today. And I think we grew a lot, and I'm really excited for real. I think we will do a great work there, and more than a work, we will enjoy ourselves, and we probably will have a coffee or a mate. That's the name here of the thing, Sarah. So I hope, and I'm sure send messages on WhatsApp and tweeting to her, and she will feel connected, and we could meet live and in another place. Amber, I hope you can join us anyway. And thank you.
Well, thank you all for your words and for the very interesting discussion. And yes, I will be living my life through you guys' tweets with the Wonka conference. Unfortunately, that week I will be sitting my exams to find out if I can qualify as a doctor. So I'm sure that it will be a nice distraction. And yeah, thank you guys so much for participating. And sorry about the technical trouble we were having before, but as usual, you can share this link with friends and continue the discussion on Facebook or Twitter using our hashtag Rural Cafe. And I look forward to seeing you guys at the next cafe.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks very much.